All right, Shalom. First and foremost, all praises and glories unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Har Chakodash, that belong to our apostles, the bishops, and the elders of the great millstone who teach God and rule well. And greetings, salutations, blessings, much love unto you, hopeful elect out there. Shalom unto you, Yabba Shaquat. Got a video here, shouldn't be very long, because I don't want to give away too much, but it does go into this movie, this new release. I believe it released on the 8th of December. Leave It All Behind, a Netflix produced movie. All right, Netflix been putting out some stuff, man. You know they know these disaster and apocalyptic movies are hot topics, man, because the people can feel things are happening. You know, we've seen and remember movies like Bird Box, like Songbird, How It Ends, Extinction. There's a lot of these movies out there. What's the other one? Don't Look Up. Okay, these movies are all great movies to kind of get your mind moving in the right direction. But here's the key to this. Okay, the key to this is that you have to have the Holy Spirit, but basically a spiritual eye to decipher what you're watching and see it for more than just entertainment. Okay, so when we watch these movies, we see it for the spiritual information that the left hand is putting out. Okay, and then we line it up with the right hand spirit, of the Holy Scriptures is speaking of. All right, and so some of it's plain, some of it is entertaining, but basically we watch these movies and we see different insight, if you will, of things going on. Now we know, as I'm putting here, they didn't actually say this until later in the movie, but they flashed it when no one was paying attention. Okay, in the movie, and that's why it's a beautiful thing. I believe the brothers put it up. Matter of fact, I just grabbed this one. No, it's a spirit. It's in this verse, in this chapter. So that's what I thought. So without further ado, I'm trying not to give any spoilers, but you have to begin to, if you haven't already, you have to see these movies and watch these movies. Even go back and watch They Live and different movies, even Demolition Man, different movies. And I talk about a lot of movies, but have to see these movies with a spiritual eye. Even when we're watching comedies, like what was that comedy one? This Is the End. It's a comedy movie, but there's a lot of truth is said in jest. Okay, so you have to begin to watch these movies with a spiritual eye. All right, so but us that are in the know, we see something different than what the mass population is seeing. Okay, now this is a view on your left here. This is a view of the screen of the TV. All right, that was on the movie. All right, and so it's pretty much showing. And if you look at this map, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. If you look at this map, this is how the country's pretty much set up. Okay, the most heavily populated areas, okay, are where the most colors are at. All right. And so the most metropolitan areas are at even. Okay. The bottom you see Houston, you see Miami, Orlando, what's the other one? Fort Lauderdale and all of that down over there. You see Georgia over there. You see the New England, New York metropolitan, Pennsylvania, all of that. You see all of that over there. You see the Chicago area in the Midwest, the North over there. You see the West Coast, a lot of California, even moving through Arizona and Utah and all of these different places, all the way up to Washington. You see all of these things basically showing you signs of stuff, but you don't understand what this means. All right, what this is talking about, this is the most heavily populated areas. And as you watch, it's talking about cyber attacks. Okay? Now, key to this movie, before I even get the scripture, is look who produced the movie. Executive produced, excuse me. Okay? They produced this movie. Barry and Mike, okay? They produced the movie, all right? So when you see spiritual things, they know some insight. And then these other movies have a little bit tidbits here and there. You got to keep your eyes open, all right? Anyway, but 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 1 says, First Thessalonians 5:1 says, "But of the times and seasons, brethren, you have no need that I write unto you." And one of the things that you have to remember that the scriptures talk about, matter of fact, I'll grab one. Okay. Luke 21 is real quick. "And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and cares of this life, so that that day come upon you unawares." Okay, meaning you're discombobulated and distracted by BS and getting in the spirit of what's going on in the world. You know, if you knee deep in the playoffs, if you knee deep in the what was that, the mid-season tournament or whatever, in-season tournament, if you're doing all of these, the Super Bowl teams, and if you're so deep into that, you know, and so deep into the BS of life, if you will, I gotta get this money on my job. If you hustling so hard that you can't tune out of that and be tuned in to spiritual things, you're gonna miss it, man. It's gonna catch you unawares. Okay? This ain't just talking about partying and drinking, man. This is also just talking about so-called, you can be not even drink alcohol or in that party spirit, but you still could be so caught up in the philosophies of the world that you know, oh, I gotta hurry up and get these Christmas gifts, so on and so forth, man, that you're not paying attention to the spiritual things that are the signs that are being shown. I got another precept, and then I'll go back to Thessalonians. Straight to the point, Sirach chapter 3, verse 23, "Be not curious in unnecessary matters." Here's the point: "For more things are shown unto thee than men understand." Okay, there's a lot of spiritual implications. These blood moons, these wolf moons, these solar flares, these winter, all of these different things that are going on in the world, right? All these things going on in the world, and people aren't paying attention to them. Okay, they just, oh, this is a phenomenon, but it's been happening and occurring more in the past 10, 12, 15 years than it has any other time in history that we've been alive. Okay, that this generation has been watching. Oh, this stuff happens all the time. We just go, yeah, okay, but this don't mean nothing. The fact that all this is happening now. Okay, and this movie kind of highlights some seemingly random events that all are coming together. Now, you have to see that with a spiritual eye and understand all of these apocalyptic movies tie into one another in the day of the Lord, because all these things are plausible to happen in the day of the Lord. From zombie apocalypses to like Godzilla -1, all these different things could possibly happen in a small time period in the near future. Okay, cyber attacks, an EMP. Somebody let off a nuke. An EMP that's the same as an EMP. It's the same as a cyber attack. It shut down the whole grid. Okay, so there's situations where you got to keep your mind open. Whether it's martial law, I'm trying to think of Bushwick. Okay, different movies like this could easily become a reality for you people, and it may not be ready to understand. So even in the movie, a key moment in the movie, and what's funny, the first time I watched it, I ran to the restroom and came back and missed it, but I went back and looked at it, and it was in the preview, is when the Julia Roberts character was at the grocery store. She looked over and saw the Kevin Bacon character filling up, like stocking up. He had emergency food, water, all kinds of things. He probably had batteries and all kinds of flashlights and all the first aid kits, all the things that you would hoard and stock up. Okay, or as they would, even the real people that do this thing called prep. There's a thing called preppers, man. Okay, people prepping for these things. Okay, so they'll probably have guns and bullets, foods, and all kinds of things, man. Okay. Scriptures even talk about that, but I'm not going to get into that. But that was a sign unto her that she didn't even understand. She's like, oh, she just kind of smiled. He looked at her, and she had a few groceries, and he just looked over like, huh. And then, the scene kind of cut away. Unbeknownst, at the end of the movie, it kind of comes full circle. Okay, because he easily had tied in the whole movie and gave understanding to it, which, again, that's us. Okay, when you see characters like the Woody Harrelson character and The End Is Near, the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar character and in The Stand, you know, and He's Coming, all of these things, you got to understand that's in a mode of the prophets. They can see these things happening, and even I forgot the guy's name. He's at the long Sahel, something like that. Ali, I don't know the brother's name. He's a decent actor, whatever, but um, always believable and everything. I've watched him in, but he was like, it's almost his job watching the markets almost becomes prophetic, where he can almost foretell what's going on. Well, that's what we're doing. We see the how the money's collapsing, and we filter through the scriptures. We see how the world economy and the world politics is happening, and we can see World War III on the rise. Okay, and even the Kevin Bacon character said we've made a lot of enemies over here. Okay, who would know that better than this guy? Or who would know that better than them? All right. So back to Thessalonians. I'll read it from the top again. It says, "But of the times and seasons, brethren, you have no need that I write unto you. Okay, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night." And who's that yourselves know perfect? Who's that know perfectly? The elect that have woken up and seeing this thing. Okay? The elect are waking up and starting to see it and starting to put the puzzle pieces together, while majority of the people on the earth, man, especially you jakes, man, 2/3 of you jakes are just not paying attention. And it's not that you don't see them, you don't want to see and want to have to figure out what this could mean for your future. Okay? And people rather cast doubt on it. And like I've been telling a few people recently, hey, it's cool that we won't know till we'll have to just wait and see. But what if it do happen? If it don't happen, great. I wasted my time. You didn't waste no time. You kept partying and whatever you're doing, however you're living your life. But if it does happen, that changes the scenario drastically. Okay, and we've been prepping. How have we been prepping? We've been prepping spiritually. Okay, so as the Kevin Bacon character was putting water and food and all that, we've been putting spiritual treasures up. Okay, according to Matthew the 6th chapter, we've been storing our treasures in heaven where no man can break through and steal, where thieves cannot break through and steal. It says, right? But in this verse 2 said, "For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night," when nobody's paying attention. It caught the people unaware. Okay, and so they didn't know what was going on. They're like, man, So where do we go to figure these things out? What everybody do? Go to a screen. The movie showed, and they did a good job at this, showing how everybody was attached to a screen. Okay, the woman they were driving in the car. The woman was attached to her cell phone. She was on the phone talking to somebody. Electronics. The husband was changing the radio, driving the car. The son was playing a video game in the back, and the daughter was watching Friends or whatever. And that ties into the movie later as well. Okay, and if you really want to go deep, and there's a lot of reaches in this when you watch it, but you almost have to, because it's dialed back to where you can't see it. The little girl was almost like the Israelites, the elect of Israel. She could see things. She just felt things. She would kind of just naturally do things like something was guiding her to her attention towards certain situations. And as you watch the movie, without me trying to spoil it, you can kind of see how she was making I don't want to say all the right moves, but making the right moves and coming up and paying attention to the right things. The beach scene, as I think is in the trailer as well. Dang, that's a big boat way out there, right? And then that goes further and further. Then at the last minute, everybody wants to pay attention. Okay, another situation. She's watching. She sees the deer. I mean, the analogies just keep going. All right. Anyway, I don't want to spoil too much. You got to advocate for people to watch these kind of movies so they keep making them. We want these movies to keep being made, and we'll keep prophesying, and people can wake up to something like one of these movies. They see this movie, then see a brother's breakdown or whatever, and now the spiritual things starting to line up. All right. Anyway, it says verse 3, "For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them." Right when you feeling, and they were in Comfort something, Comfort Point, I think was the name of the city, the store in a little town, hamlet or whatever they were in, called Comfort Point. They were in their comfort, relaxed, and it caught them unawares. All right. It said, then sudden destruction come upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. And even, there's so many spiritual things that you can nitpick out of this movie that is just a good watch, man. It's just a good watch, especially if you have the spiritual eye open. All right. Verse 4 says, brother, you are not in darkness that day should overtake you as a thief. Because we're watching, right? You are the children of the light and the children of the day. We are not of the night nor of darkness. Therefore, let us not sleep. Okay. And it's not talking about slumbering, actually, going to bed at night. It's talking about spiritually asleep. That we can't see the spiritual things as they're being shown, to us. I'm just thinking about some of the movie. There was one part with the daughter of the black guy, right? She said, she said, this is not a time that we should be so quick to give out trust. And that's true. And she said, especially not to white people, which that dynamic was in the house. Okay, and then I can say that part. There was a civil war kind of popping off in the movie. You got to watch it, and there was a friction that was naturally there, which was that enmity between Jacob and the serpent and the woman. That's who that was. But the serpent and the woman back in Genesis, the 3rd chapter, it was just naturally there. Okay, and then the wine got in the alcohol and the drink got into play, and they became friends, and they had to kind of sober up for a moment and really think it through. For you that have seen it, you know what the parts I'm referring to. For you that haven't seen it, when you watch it, you'll get those dynamics popping up as you see them. It may reference from when I said them now, or when you see them, they may automatically come to mind. All right. It says, therefore, let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. Okay, so we're watching these prophecies. We're watching the signs. We're watching all of these things that the Most High is showing. And even we can't catch it all, but we're watching all these things and we're seeing how, okay, this is happening. Okay, this is happening. Was it Russia just revamped some silos? America just revamped some silos up in Wyoming. They got new capabilities over in China, new capabilities over in Korea, and somebody's gonna have to press the button, and they know they're preparing the people for this day, and they know the day is coming. Okay, nobody just want to press it, but they know at some point it's gonna have to be pressed. Okay, we're seeing all these things in movies like this keep us spiritually in tune with the things that we're watching spiritually in prophecy. Okay, for they that sleep sleep in the night, and they that be drunken are drunken in the night. But let us who are of the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and for an helmet the hope of salvation. Okay, so we protect ourselves with these things. All right, we protect ourselves with the belief, with the things we do, storing up our spiritual treasures. Okay, spiritually prepping, if you will. Okay, so all of these things are starting to tie in and come more to the forefront, where the average person is seeing it, as well as some of the elites are allowing these movies to go out. And I had another article or video. I sent it. I'll try to do a video on it, but it was basically referring to some of the elites are letting truth get out on these platforms, particularly YouTube, just to see who's involved, who's tapped into that vibration, how many of the people are tapped into that vibration. All right, so these things are happening this way. Let me grab another precept. I didn't intend for this to be super long, but as I understood that the Spirit may move and have me to pull other precepts, which is a beautiful thing. Lord willing, this is edifying, right? So this is Romans 13, verse 11. And that knowing the time, how do we know the time? Because we've been edified through the prophecies, through the prophets that have been pushing it out, being diligent about it, right? Feeding the flock. It says that now it is high time to awake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. How do we know? Because we know when all these signs that we've been seeing and they're even referring to these signs in these movies, right, are beginning to happen in current events in the modern day news. Okay, so as all these things are happening, we're hearing the prophecies, we're seeing the prophets, we're hearing the breakdowns, we're reading it in the Bible, we're watching the movies, we're watching the news and seeing how there's war over there in the Middle East, there's war over there in the northern Eastern world over there, Ukraine and Russia. We're watching all of these things happen, okay, and now we're understanding that these things are beginning to come to pass, and this also ties into the time that our salvation would be near, that the Israelites will be released out of this captivity, okay, by way of Yahweh Shai rescuing them from certain destruction. All right, it says the night is far spent, the day is at hand. So it's time's up, man. The clock is running out, and time is up. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness. So we got to start getting more sober minded. You know, we can't just be, oh, we're about to go party, we're about to go do this and do that. Not to say you can't have a good time, but there's a measure and a moderation that we should be soberly considering as we move with our actions. Okay? It says, and let us put on the armor of light, which that was talking about it in Thessalonians. The breastplate of faith and love and the hope of salvation as an helmet. Okay, that's an armor. All right, and they're not physical things, but they are spiritual things, right? It says, let us walk honestly in the day, not in rioting and drunkenness, not in chambering and wantonness, not in strife and envy, but put on the Lord Yahweh Shai Mashiach, and make not provision for the flesh to fulfill the lust thereof, because that's what's going to keep you in a spiritually dark place and spiritually unaware, where you're not sober and seeing it. You're walking now in drunkenness. Okay, when you're putting on those things in the forefront of what you are believing in and hoping for. Okay, we hope for these negative so-called things, right? So-called negative things to come to pass, because we know that these are what's going to lead to our salvation. All right, excellent movie, man. Okay, I really enjoyed it. I didn't want to make this too long. I'm sure brothers going to continue to do videos on it and do videos on it. I've been waiting on it to come out, and then I forgot about it. And so when I checked it a couple nights ago, like, dang, yeah, this was better than I thought. I'm gonna make the household watch it, just to kind of get their minds in tune with what's going on in the world. I try to show some of these movies. Every once in a while, I'll pause it. I ask them if anything come to mind. You ever heard me say certain things, refer to certain scriptures or whatever. But these are certain movies like this should always get you back into that rightful spirit of Yahweh Shai Shai, and that the days at the end now are right there, man. We're right at the door of this thing, okay? And if you will, you better start spiritually prepping yourself, with the treasures in heaven, meaning through this word, that you may be able to withstand the evil days. All right, so I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna give all praise and glories unto Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahshai, Ba'ashim Rakakwadash, that belong to our apostles, the bishops, and the elders of the great millstone. Greetings, salutations, blessings, much love unto you, hopefully elect. To the next one, Shalom.